So despite all of the fan interactions and opinions and things you might think about Remake versus OG7 and vice versa, one thing I think we can all agree on is the fact that Hojo is a complete piece of trash. Not only is he a complete piece of trash based on how he was in the original game, he's got his funny moments, you know, the beach scene and, you know, a few others, but he is a complete waste of oxygen. He is thirsty and lustful even for just knowledge and power, the power that knowledge brings, and his insatiable desire to tinker with things he doesn't understand. The processes and his machinations, his experiments have all led to what is going on in Final Fantasy VII, in the story, in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Remake, OG, the compilation, all of it is because of Hojo's tampering. Now, Jenova was the original Crisis, but she was put to bed by the Ancients. The one that had to go prying, snooping, poking, and tinkering with her cells and all this other stuff. The man who killed Professor Gast and has led the world down the circle of the toilet drain, basically, is Hojo. Hojo is the real villain of Final Fantasy VII. In many ways, I feel like Hojo should be the last guy you fight. Well, before Sephiroth. I feel like some weird form of Hojo should be like the boss you fight before Sephiroth, kind of protecting his son. You know, you go through another Jenova battle, and then you have to go through like a final form of, you know, Hojo, because, you know, you kill his earthly body on the platform in Midgar, and then maybe you fight a mutated monstrous version of Hojo in the Northern Crater or something. You know, something more impactful. Now, I know that didn't originally mean for him to be viewed that way, the people that wrote the game, but he very much is that dude. He very much is that dude. Hojo is one of the great mad scientist villains ever made, in my opinion. He's up there with Dr. Frankenstein, but he's evil. Dr. Frankenstein wasn't evil. Curious, but I wouldn't say he was evil. He realized what he had released on mankind. Hojo realizes what he has released on the populace of Gaia, but he doesn't care. Like, he just cares about results. And at the end of the day, his end game is all about seeing what happens with the reunion. His big hypothesis, the reunion, is called that because it's all Hojo's hypothesis of what would happen if all of Jenova's cells were to try and reunite. You know, like, he is brilliant. He is a brilliant character, but he is the absolute main villain of the story. And not only that, but you look at what he did, like telling Aerith what he had done to her mother. You know, categorized every piece, every cell, every hair. I think he said every fingernail, every fingernail, every bone fragment. Or he went into like tissue, all this other just crazy stuff. He is mad. Even Shinra seems like it's just a means to an end for him. You know, he doesn't really seem like he cares much about Shinra's operations at all. He's doing his own thing, especially in Remake. They really show you in Final Fantasy VII Remake, he's got his own section of Shinra Tower, the drum, that whole area. That's his playground. And it's crazy how they showed that too. He's got Nibelheim. He's got so many other areas. I think the Crash Galinka had some of his specimens on board. There's other places around the world where he has installations. And I hope Remake gets into that. I hope Remake Part 2 and the parts that are still to come, I hope they get into that. Because there is a lot you can do with this character. And he has done a lot of horrible things in the world that aren't even shown in the story. You know, the Nibelheim, everything going on with that Nibelheim incident. Shout out to MJ Gallagher, by the way. Nibelheim incident, wink wink. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you know, then you know. But that's all Hojo. Sephiroth, that's Hojo's brainchild. Without no Hojo, no Sephiroth. No Hojo, no Sephiroth, basically. No Hojo, no reawakening Genova, poking and prodding this monster, putting her cells in other people, and creating monsters, creating the soldier program. The soldier candidates, soldiers are monsters that just haven't hatched yet. The soldier program is horrible. It's horrifying. If you know all the ins and outs of the soldier program, kind of what's been written about what they have to go through, the experimentation that's done on them, the Mako infusion, the Genova cells, S or is it S and G? S and G cells, right? Jillian and Sephiroth or whatever. S-type, G-type. Everything that's done, it's all... I mean, Professor Gast had a small hand in all this. But Professor Gast dropped the ball on the 15-yard line. Hojo picked it up and went through every defender for 85 yards to the end zone. Hojo picked it up and took it to the house. And Hojo is continuing to ruin, decimate, destroy everything because of his ambitions. He doesn't care about Shinra. He doesn't care about President Shinra. They have the means to aid him, to help him in continuing to pursue his psycho endeavors. That's it. That's it. He's not a Shinra man. He's a Hojo man. He's all about his own brilliance and his own genius, and he's so conceited and self-centered. He's blinded by his own genius. He only cares about seeing if his ideas are true or not. He has no time for failed experiments. Like, he forgets failed experiments. People keep saying, well, how could he have forgotten about Cloud? He's crazy. He's crazy. He forgot about Cloud because he deemed Cloud a failure. He's got so many things going on at any point in time. At any given time, he's got so many things going on that he can't be bothered to remember every failed experiment. And you think, well, that's a human life. That's Cloud, right? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He is true sociopath. He has no emotion for that stuff. He has no regard for human life. He has no regard for the lives of anyone, which is why he could categorize Ifalna in such a way, like put all of her little pieces in mason jars on the shelf. If you're envisioning some kind of like archaic kind of like medieval dungeon where they store human parts and stuff, that's what I see Hojo as. That's what many people do. And the big takeaway from Hojo is the fact that he is the proper main villain of Final Fantasy VII. Without him, none of this happens. Without him, Genova's body keeps like descending further and further into the stone embedding of the northern crater. Like they, gets to a point where they eventually just don't even dig her out. You can't even find her. Like just consumed by the planet. Her remains. You don't find it. And you can talk about the negative life stream and all that kind of stuff. This stuff doesn't start happening in Reawakening until Genova is tampered with, until her remains are tampered with, and she is obviously still sentient, and she can obviously still control people that have, her DNA, her cells within her, and she's the great manipulator. But without Hojo, she never comes back into being. Without Hojo getting to Lucretia and putting a wedge, no pun intended, the wedge has nothing to do with this, but putting that wedge between her and Vincent, that's why he's Vincent's villain. But Hojo is not a sub-villain. Hojo is the villain of this story. He is the prime reason there's a crisis for the planet, and he doesn't care. Like a true villain, he doesn't care. He just wants to know he was right. That's it. If the planet burns, I think there's even a throwaway line in the original game where he's just like, I'm going to give my son all the energy he needs. I'm going to give Sephiroth all the energy he needs. He's going to fire that cannon. And basically, he's just like, I don't care if the world does burn. I just want to know I'm right. I just need to see that my hypothesis is proven to be fact. That all these measures and all these things that I did is all for my own glory. That's it. He is a proper villain. And quite honestly, if I'm being frank, like, I hope they write him so well that by the end of it, everybody that plays this game goes, that was the biggest villain in the game. Hojo is the best written villain in the game. I really hope they do that because, you know, you can talk about Sephiroth and Genova, Rufus Shinra, President Shinra, all these other characters, and they're all great villains in their own right. But done right, we could look back at this experience when Final Fantasy VII Remake is done and in the books and say, wow, they made Hojo one of the best villains ever. They could do it. I think they might. Based on what I've read, based on what I've talked with you all about on live streams, and when this has come up, I think everybody's kind of on board with saying, yeah, Hojo's kind of like the real villain of Final Fantasy VII. Some people disagree, you know, and of course Sephiroth's the charismatic villain, you know, Sephiroth is dope. Sephiroth's dope. Everybody knows he's dope. He's great. He's one of the greatest villains in video game history, period. But Hojo takes a quiet back seat when he really shouldn't, because he is the reason there is a Sephiroth. All these things have happened. And probably, if I'm being quite honest, probably the reason that Shinra can wield the power that it does now. Hojo is the reason, if I'm thinking about it now, yeah, since I'm just coming off the cuff of this, Hojo is the reason that Shinra defeated Wutai in the war. Hojo is the reason. His research, his machinations, his ideas, his unholy science, if you want to call it that, the unholy science of Hojo. It's the reason they won the war. There you go. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed that. That's my deep dive on Hojo. It's a little bit longer than some of my videos go, but hey, you know, I really wanted to get this in and discuss that with you all. Let me know in the comments below what you all think. What's your opinion on Hojo? Anyway, I hope you all liked it. Please throw a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I got plenty of stuff like this coming all of the time. And until next time, y'all have a great day. Be safe, be good to each other, and keep rocking. I will see you all next time.